Hi, my name's Starsky and welcome to From the Studio on Clubbing TV. In this episode, I'm going to take a look at a little box that doesn't actually make any sound itself, but is used to modulate other kit. It's the LFE Expander Module by Yorick Tech. So what on earth is a MIDI expander module? Well, basically it's a box that's got lots of MIDI modulations that we can do things with the synth that the synth can't do itself. Wave 2, the Voyager, Prophet 5, Prophet 10. So yeah, there's a fair few in there, and if we go into the CC synth section, not very easy to say. In this we've also got installed MIDI CCs for the Big Sky, so it works with effects units. Deckard's Dream, which is a sort of complex analog synth module based on the CS80, which is what Vangelis made Blade Runner from, and synth heads are absolutely in love with it, and some of them go for over £60,000. Again, it hasn't got that many modulation options. Nord Lead 1, the Otto BIM, that's another little effects unit. Modal 8, again, another really expensive synth. I think they're around £3,000, but hasn't got that many modulation options. The Moog Matriarch, again, I think that's £1,800 synth. And these are just the ones that people that have bought the synth have asked the manufacturer to create custom patches for it, because you can create one for whatever you like, as I say. The Super 6 is in here as well, and that's one that I asked them to create for the Super 6 that I demoed a few weeks ago, just to see if it worked on it. So yeah, it's superbly flexible. You can throw this in your studio and control loads of your synths with it. We've got two MIDI ins, we've got a MIDI out and a MIDI through. They're the standard 5-pin DIN. We've got a USB connector, and that's just for updating the firmware in this and uploading all the different models of synth. Then we've got the CV in and CV out on this unit that you don't get as standard. This one's got the OB6 style graphics. You can get them with Prophet style graphics, but they're not associated with sequential. They are made by one guy in the UK, so it's about as small a bespoke company as you can possibly get. He hasn't even got a website, but he's got a Facebook page. That's Yorick Tech, if you're interested in spending £500 on a MIDI module, which lots of people are. So let's take a look at its functions and how it works, shall we? And the way this works is that we've got 4 separate modulation routines, envelope, LFO1, LFO2 and LFO3, and we can see the 4 lines across there, and they show us exactly what's happening. We pick a destination and we change the amount with these knobs, and what that does is it just sends MIDI messages to twist the knobs on this. So it's a really simple idea but really effective. We won't use this envelope on the synth. We'll use this envelope instead. And this is quite a complex one. It's got attack, attack, decay, decay, sustain, release. So it's an AA, DD, SR rather than an ADSR like most envelopes are. So to keep it simple, I'll just twist these knobs so that we get a simple envelope. So using this frees this envelope up to do one thing, or we can do anything else on this. And actually on the OB6, we can only modulate these 6 different things. We've got VCO1, the shape, pulse width the 1, normal to bandpass on the filter frequency and the filter mode. So we've only actually got 6 destinations, whereas on this, let's just see what we've got here. We won't go through them all, but we can see there that there's an awful lot more than 6. So starting off with a simple sound, turn the filter down on here, turn the amount up on the LFE. So that's this modulating that. So of course that's not massively impressive. I'm just showing you the concept about how it works. So we've got a much more complex envelope here, but the envelope can also loop, and it can also be used as a sequencer. So if we loop the envelope, you can hear it sort of doing that sort of rhythmic wah-wah, and that's something that you wouldn't get on a standard LFO shape. But we've also got on this, as I say, we've got a sequencer. And that's synced with the synth. And And that's really nice actually, because you can sync your delays on the OB6 as well. So you can have everything all synced up. Again, I'm just using it on a really simple sound so you can hear what it does. But that's modulating the filter. We can modulate anything we like. So let's maybe modulate VCO2's frequency, shall we? Now it's acting like an old school sequencer. It's really just good fun, hands-on, tweakability. It's the sort of thing you don't do on the machine itself. You end up with results that you wouldn't normally get. Maybe you wouldn't want that result, but you get the idea. So let's move over to the LFOs. Okay, we've got the LFO here. We've got it on a sine and VCF again. Let's have a listen. So we've got loads of different wave shapes here. We've got sine, cosine, triangle, saw up. Let's have a listen to that. You can change the shape of these as well. If I put hold on, and that's changing the shape of the sawtooth. Sawtooth's normally a straight line, but it's changing it to sort of concave or to convex. And it does this sort of thing with all the different wave shapes. Let's try another. Let's try a square. Can't actually think of a synth that does an LFO as complex as that. Then we've got different modes in there as well. If we go into the menu pages, shift and engage, we've got a delay which waits before the LFO comes in. Then we've got fade as well, so it'll fade in. You can have a delay with a fade. On cycle, we can have 1 to 9 separate cycles. So there we've got LFO1 doing 3 cycles, then we've got LFO2 that's delayed, then fades in doing something else at a different speed. So just interesting, it gives you an idea of the type of sort of complex things you can do with it. So let's move over now to LFO3. LFO3 is different to LFO2 and LFO1 because we don't have the same wave shapes. We've got what's called the trapezoid, so it's sort of flat, then it slopes up, then it plateaus, slopes down and flat again, and we've got this sort of sample and hold style circuit in it as well. So just have a little quick play with that. It's easier to play with it than to describe it. So that's all very nice, isn't it? You can get really nice, interesting, complex rhythms really super simply on it. And don't forget, I'm using all of these to control the filter cutoff frequency, and you can use them all to control different things on the synth. You can even use them all to control different instruments, or at least a couple of different instruments. So you could have your synth plus another synth, or a synth and an effects unit. So loads and loads of interesting bits you can do with it. But let's take a look at some of its other functions, shall we? One of the really interesting ones is that it'll just add a separate note. You can hear there we've got 2 notes playing, so we could turn that into a sub. Playing 2 notes. Now we could also add some velocity to that, so we can change effectively the level of that sub. Another nice little idea is this thing it's got called selective note aftertouch. So we're using the aftertouch to control the selective note aftertouch. So now when I play the synth, only the top note is going to be affected by the aftertouch. So you can hear I'm changing the filter with the top note and the bottom note is staying the same. And that's not using the MPE functions on the synth at all. And that brings me to the MPE functions on this. We need to put the synth itself into MIDI polyphonic expression mode, which on this means put it onto channel, what's effectively channel 17. And then we put this onto its MIDI polyphonic expression output. We've got MPE-Y. So we've got MPE-Y going to the synth set up for MPE-Y to change the filter. So hopefully we'll get this sine wave modulating the filter on this. But now what we've got is we've got a different LFO, pair voice. So we can hear there, they're all acting at different times. So that's quite a nice effect. And it's definitely different to this. It's also got something called MPE spread in here as well. We've got it on 0 here and it goes up to 9, and what it does is it changes the LFO speed per voice. So if I play this on, I don't know, let's stick it all the way up to 9. You can hear each note is playing at a different speed. So this does bring in that added flexibility. So now you've heard what it can do, is it for you? Well, the short answer to that is absolutely not, unless you've got yourself an expensive synth with limited modulation options. So something like the OB6, Prophet 5, Prophet 6, or the Nords, or the Super 6 that I showed a few weeks ago. All those have only got a single LFO or limited LFO options with a couple of envelopes. This is absolutely fantastic. It takes those synths somewhere they couldn't go on their own. But if you haven't got one of them, you don't need it at all. But I thought it'd be quite nice to show what people end up spending their money on once you've bought something expensive. You buy something expensive, you tend to need expensive accessories, or at least lust after expensive accessories. And it does look really nice nestled up against the OB6, doesn't it? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and if you did, don't forget you can catch it whenever you like on our Clubbing TV official YouTube channel on the From the Studio playlist. And if you've got any questions, drop them in the comments and I'll see what I can do to answer them. And if you are into your studio tech, take a look at my Starsky Carr YouTube channel as well. Got a lot more in-depth stuff on both the OB6 and on this as well. So I'll see you in the next episode of From the Studio.